basically, yes, my name is Alexis. I'm working for B2B startup, especially fintech, since the last 7+ years. I worked, for example, for Swile or Libio in France. And since a few years, I'm a freelancer and I work for several clients on B2B tech as well. And so, yes, I'm using Cargo since a few months now. Yeah, I think it's a great product because it offers the opportunity to build very strong and custom workflows for every company. So it's a great tool. And today we're going to talk about CRM deduplication. And for me, it should be the first play that you build in Cargo or other platforms, because it's very the first brick, because you don't want to, for example, enrich duplicate records, and also it can impact sales or marketing efficiency. For example, marketing, you don't want that the marketing team is sending emails or automatic campaigns to duplicate records. On the sales side, you don't want that the data is logged into duplicate records. For example, if a sales is working on a company, you don't want that the calls or properties are filled in one record and also on another one. So it's very important to data sanity. So yes, it's for me a very important area that you need to work on. Yeah, we're still not hearing you, Tarek. Nope. Did you allow the browser or the tools to access your mic? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I will continue without you in the meantime. So when I built this workflow, I made some mistakes, and so I've learned a lot of things. So I'm going to share them with you, so you don't make those errors. So the first one is really to choose carefully the deduplication key that you want to use to find the duplicates. So the more common ones are domain, of course. It can be also a LinkedIn URL, and I think that for companies, the most robust one for me is the company ID that you can find when enriching with LinkedIn data. And for example, one of the error that I've made is when searching for duplicates, I didn't exclude at first the generic domains like Bitly or Upsly, or Linktree. So basically, when I made some tests, I've merged companies that were not the same at all. So yeah, it's really important to be careful about that. And also, especially if you're using HubSpot, you need to test a lot your workflow, because once you're merging some records, you can't unmerge them. So you have to recreate them if you've made some errors. So yeah, really important to test a lot your workflow before going live. And so, yeah, I think that's all for the common mistake I've made. So the workflow I've built is based on on 3 paths. So basically, the first step is to define the variables that you're going to use. So for this example, I've used domain and LinkedIn URL. But as I was saying, you can add like the LinkedIn ID if you have it. And so the first step is to define those variables and then to search within your CRM the matching companies that have this variable. So for this example, I have 3 paths because I want to search same domain, same LinkedIn URL, and if the record has the 2 properties, I want to search for the domain and or the LinkedIn URL. So you have like 3 paths at first. And then, yes, thanks to these nodes, you will find all the records that are matching the criteria that you've entered. If you have any questions during the presentation, please do not hesitate to ask them in the chat. Tariq, can you zoom a bit or no? So we can see a bit more the screens that are in Cargo. Yeah, I think it's better now. So the second step, once you found the records that are matching your criteria, is to define that the one that you want to keep, the master one. And for that, I think it's really important to define what is important for your business. For example, for one of my clients, the most important criteria was the company tiering. So basically, if record A was tier 1 and record B was tier 2, we wanted to keep the record A as the master record. So that was the first criteria that is important. And then you can have a lot of different criteria. It can be the company type or the number of properties that are filled in the CRM. So basically, what I've done is like a waterfall to find the companies, the master companies. So I've looked into the company tier, and if I have no company tiering for the duplicates, I'm looking into the properties field. So I'm choosing the company record with the more properties that are filled. And thanks to that, I can basically identify the master record. But yeah, I think that it's really important to find the criteria that is the more suitable for your business and for your internal processes. Yes, so basically this JavaScript code is doing what I was saying about identifying the master record. So yeah, just look at if we have some tiering and then count the number of properties that are filled for these particular records. And then thanks to that, we are able to identify the master records and where we want to merge all the companies within it. Yeah, and so basically the last node within Cargo is a merge node on HubSpot. And here you just have to say, yeah, I want to merge this record ID, and you put all the the record ID that you found into your primary company ID or contact ID, and then it will merge everything into this record. So yeah, it's a quite straightforward workflow, but it is a really important one. And I think that the smart part is on identifying the criteria that are really important for your business, like company tiering for this example. And yes, once you have that, you can build a custom logic to merge the duplicates. Yeah, it's a good question, because I think that we can think about a lot of cases that we could build, like for example, for companies that have a similar name but not the same domain or not the same LinkedIn URL. And I've started to think about that, and I think that with AI, so like OpenAI or for example, LinkUp, we could build some prompts to identify if the companies with similar names are the same companies or not. So I think it could be a good other example, and we could think about it. And for other example that I've talked earlier, I think a good first step is to be sure that within your CRM you have enough data for all the companies like domain or LinkedIn URL. So guys, do you have other example that are not covered here? Yeah, so far, this workflow enabled my clients to eliminate it like 70+% of the duplicates. So it's I think it's covering a lot of the cases, but obviously not all of them. So yeah, I'm reading your question. Yeah, I agree with your question about record with similar first name, and I think that for that, LLM are the best option to identify if they are duplicates. But I think that at first, what could be interesting is to use LLM to identify if it's duplicates in case of similar name, and then not merge automatically, but send a Slack notification or whatever to just manually check if the LLM found the right answer before merging. So I think yes, it's a good idea to do like this. And for company with popular name and parent name, it's a great question. Again, I think LLM can be a good help on that, and maybe I know that some database, I've forgotten the name, but I know that some database are really strong on linking companies between them. So yes, maybe it could be a great idea to use them.
Hey guys, am I back or am I still out?
Yes, you are.
I'm back now?
Yeah.
Damn, I got seriously screwed over by Chrome to restart it as we did. Alexi, thank you for being the brave soldier, keeping this going while I was trying to figure this out, and the audience. So thank you for hanging in with us. Um, there's so much ground that we could cover here. Um, First of all, maybe Alexi, what is the story of this flow? Like, how did you come to building this version of Deduplicates as you were? Is this the first version you built? Is this version 2 or 3?
No, it's within Cargo. Is the first version because it was really important for my clients to identify the master company to merge all the duplicates into it. So yes, that was the first version, and this is why I've built a custom script to define the master company.
Okay. And sort of what was sort of the business impact of doing this? So what was not happening before this activity that now is possible?
Yeah, basically the more important thing was about sales efficiency because my client has a lot of sales, and it was really a pain to for each sales to work on sometimes different records of the same company. So yeah, basically we eliminated this error, and yeah, everything is working smoothly now, and the sales team is very happy about that.
Okay. And do you have an idea of where the duplicates came from in the first place?
Yeah, it can be from some Chrome extension based on LinkedIn data. It could be a mass import. It could be a marketing event import. So every time you have like piece of data to identify companies, and so yes, basically with this workflow, we were able to just get one record for one company, and the second step after that is basically to now that we have a database that has no duplicates, we can start to enrich it with more confidence.
Got it. Got it. Um, Maybe talk to us about the choice that you had. So here, this is the key part of the workflow, right? So everything that you do with deduplication comes off the back of what information you have in your CRM to be able to
Yes.
match companies, right?
Mhm.
So why the choice of LinkedIn and domain, and then LinkedIn plus domain? Why these three specifically?
Because I think that for identifying unique companies, it's the most common keys and the most unique keys that you can have. But for example, for another client, a French one, we could use the national identifier, which is the SIRET. And I think that every company, every use case, every industries has its own unique keys that you can find. So yeah, I think that for the most common ones are LinkedIn and domain, but you can find more specific ones. It can work as well.
Okay. And so does that mean that prior to this exercise, you would have enriched these values so that you make sure that they exist in a large number, or did they already were enriched before?
I think it depends. In that case, the CRM was at least 65 or 75 percentile enrich. So I didn't have to enrich all the CRM before doing this. But in some case, when you don't have enough data, yes, you can enrich first and then deduplicate.
Got it. Got it. And so off the back of this workflow, what is your estimation of how many duplicates you were able to find across your CRM and successfully eliminate?
Yeah, so 70+%. So I think it's a good starting rate. But as we were discussing, I think that the case that will fill the 30% left is to identify records that have similar names, but not the same domain or the same LinkedIn company URL.
There's an interesting question from Elias off the back of this. So, what, from your experience, is an acceptable error percentage for kind of duplication workflow? So, how much can we tolerate false positives, false negatives? At what point should we start, ringing the alarm bells that you've created more mess than what you've fixed?
Yeah, good question. I think that if you're choosing the right keys to deduplicate, you shouldn't have a lot of false positive or false negative runs. But yeah, I think that you should look for less than 5% of errors.
How would you track it? How would you track how many false positives and false negatives you've inserted?
Basically, it's when I was doing some tests, so I started to deduplicate 100 and then 1,000 records, etc. So yeah, I was able by manual checking the percentage of error I had, but yeah, I think that with this version of the workflow, you shouldn't have a lot of false positive or false negative errors.
And why is that? Is that because of the filters that we're using here?
Yeah, so basically, I think that if your CRM has enough data and a good overall data quality, I think that by using LinkedIn and domain, you shouldn't have a lot of false positive. I think that the key that could bring some false positive is the domain. But if you are filtering out generic domains or domains that can be specific for your within your industry, I think that you shouldn't have a lot of false positive records.
Okay. How did you deal with domains that are roughly similar? So let's say I have cargo.io, but I could also have cargo.io/help. I could also have app.getcargo.io and so on and so forth. We've talked about fuzzy names. What about these fuzzy matches between domains that are essentially the same but look different?
Yeah, so for this client, I didn't have this kind of issue, but you could easily do like some regex to just clean the domain name to be sure that you have just the domain and not everything that after the slash. Yeah, so I think yeah, so with some regex, it's working.
Interesting. So there's a regex sort of expression approach that you could build into this. That one I've seen as well. And there's one more approach that we tried. So with the company called SpotDraft, I know Asfi is here from the call. And the idea was that if you query with an HTTP call a particular domain, it sends you back a canonical URL within the HTML. And this is specifically the universal identifier for the website that Google uses to identify websites. And so this way you can convert a dirty domain to a cleaner domain. Is that something that you've seen before?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good idea, and yeah, it can be a good idea. But like I was saying, a regex expression can be working as well. So yeah, different approach that needs to be tested to choose the more powerful one.
Okay. I had a question. If no one else has a question, I have something I want to deep dive on. Is it possible to access display? Yes, Sanjay. So display, I haven't merged the PR yet, but it's going to be accessible as a cargo template by tomorrow. And so you can use that. If you're really impatient and you can't wait till tomorrow, just DM me on Slack and I will send you the JSON. Asifi's question is, will this workflow need to be run periodically, say once every 3 months since new accounts are added? Alexis?
Yeah, so first step, deduplicate all the records that you have in your CRM. And then from that, you can just run this workflow once a day, especially on the morning when there are not a lot of activities in the CRM, and just as a filters, you can just add the records that have been added last 24 hours or updated last 24 hours. So you don't have to check all your CRM every day, but just the last upstarted ones.
Very good. And so I'll come back to this question of tracking. Is there somewhere in HubSpot that you have some sort of visualization of how many duplicates were found and treated over particular days? Are you seeing a trend of them decreasing or increasing over time?
Yeah, so it depends on the package that you have used with HubSpot, but I think that with the at least with the Pro or maybe starter package, you have like on the context and companies tabs a link to identify that identified duplicates that HubSpot found, so it can give you an idea of how many duplicates you have. And so, yeah, basically, if you see that you have 100 duplicates and you launch the workflow, and then you have like just like 10 or 5 duplicates left, it means that it's working well. And I know that if you have like the Ops enterprise plan, you can go further on this. And yeah.
I want to deep dive on this variable here. So here we have company type, which is pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
Then you have properties filled. So you're just counting the number of properties that exist for that particular entity. And then you're using that to say, hey, if someone has more properties, then they're senior. If they have fewer properties, they're junior, correct?
Yes, exactly.
So this is simple. What is the company tier? Is that specific to this use case, or is that something we should all integrate into this workflow?
I think it depends on how your company is working and what is the sales process for that particular client. The tiering of a company was really important. So each sales is working on a territory and has to properly share all the accounts in this territory. So this is a property that is really important. So this is why we decided to include it in the logic.
And this is almost like the veto property, right? So you first check for tier. We will come to your formula in a second. And then if the tier does not decide the seniority, then you go for properties filled. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly.
Very good. And I guess this is just to duplicates. This is just the number of duplicates that you're counting, right?
It's just to avoid running the script if you have just one company that is matching the filter.
Very good. So we see that here. So you're filtering for the number of duplicates to be at least one, which makes sense.
Yes.
And you're filtering for prospects.
Exactly.
And this is where it starts to get interesting, right? So this is where you're deciding how senior is the company in question, so that you can know what to merge into what. So if I can just open this up here to make this bigger. Walk us through very quickly this JavaScript. I mean, I know not everyone here is comfortable or should be comfortable with JavaScript, and that's why this is part of the template that you'll have tomorrow. But walk us through the high-level logic of what's going on.
Yeah, basically, it's just the code that is explaining what is your logic. So for that particular client, the logic was, okay, so if you have several records, first we want to double check the tiering. So if there is a tiering on all the records, then take the more prioritized one. So if there is a tier one or tier 2, take choose the tier 1. And if you do not have the tiering or all the tiering are equivalent, then look at the numbers of properties that are filled, because I want to keep the one with the most properties, of course. And yeah, I think that's all. But like you was saying, I'm not merging companies that don't that doesn't have like the same company type. For example, if I have a company that is prospect and another one is like a partner or client or a competitor, I don't want to merge them, because maybe that they are used by different people within the company.
Okay, interesting. And what do you do in that case? You leave the duplicate to be?
Exactly. I choose to exclude this and to maybe check it manually. Because it's very low number of companies. So yeah.
Very good. And then we come to the next page. So this is again relatively simpler. Here you're just getting the HubSpot ID of the company that you found was the most senior, correct?
Yeah,
Or-
exactly. So basically, the GS script is returning the position of the company, and then thanks to this position, I'm identifying the ID. And so yeah, thanks to that, I have the master ID of the company I want to keep.
Excellent. And here, then this becomes super simple. After all this, you have your master ID here in primary ID,
Exactly.
and all of the other IDs that you found from the duplicate search will be these IDs to merge, correct?
Exactly.
Very good. Um, so this is all pretty good for this use case. So I guess then for that 30% that's left, and you said that's mostly sort of fuzzy matches between names and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
If you were to build a workflow tomorrow, how would you attack that problem?
Yeah. So I'm going to work on this and to improve this workflow over time. But I have a few ideas. The first one is I have released another workflow to enrich the CRM. So basically, if I have more data in my CRM, this workflow will identify more duplicates. So it will eliminate, I think, maybe 5 or 10% more of duplicates. And for the left ones, and for example, for similar names or fuzzy matched name, I think I will use like link-up integration to just build a prompt and define if it's the same company or not.
Okay, so essentially what you're saying is the 30% that you miss, part of that is just because you don't have enough information. So
Exactly.
you will enrich it and you'll have your either LinkedIn or domain or both. So then you can just put them in the same category as before.
Yeah.
So that leaves maybe a fraction remaining. And then what you're saying is your choice is to go to an agent and say, hey, is this company, the same company as something else?
Yeah, so basically what I'm going to build, I think, is make a fuzzy search on HubSpot to identify all the companies that are names that are similar but not exact.
How would you make a fuzzy search on HubSpot? I think this is interesting for the audience.
I'm not sure that it's possible with the default cargo integration with HubSpot. Maybe it is. I didn't check, but I think I'm pretty sure that with API it's possible. And yeah, I think that once you have like all the records that are matching your criteria and have like a similar name, then you paste it to an agent to search on the web and to be sure that that there are duplicates. But like I was saying, I think that the first iteration of that is to not merge this case automatically at first and to double check manually before merging. And once you have like a high degree of trust, you can automate it.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I guess that there's different ways to go around it, right? So either you can do a fuzzy search on HubSpot, or you can get more information from an agent, or you can, if you have the domain, you can ping the domain and get back the actual domain and see if there's any matches there, and so on and so forth. So all sort of rivers lead back to the same motion, which is getting more information into the system so that you can put them back into this flow. Correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anyone in the audience who has struggled with the fuzzy name duplicate problem? Because I'm wondering if there's enough interest, we can do a second version where we show the audience what we did for the fuzzy names.
Yeah. In all the case, I'm seeing that it's sure that we're working on this use case, and I think that I will also add like the LinkedIn ID search to find maybe more companies, because if I'm not mistaken, the LinkedIn URL can change of a company. You can update it, but the LinkedIn ID shouldn't. So yeah, it's a more robust unique key, I think.
Right, and for that you just need to ensure you have a lot more enrichment from the get-go, right?
Yes.
For LinkedIn URLs, yeah. Very good. So I think that's what we needed to cover. Alexi, what would you have done differently if you had another shot at it and unlimited time?
I think that the mistake I've made was about generic domain. So I forgot to exclude like a generic domain like Bitly, and I then discovered that I've merged like 10 plus companies that were not the same at all. So yeah, I think it's the most common error that you should avoid.
And how did you solve that problem? You went manually through the companies and
Yeah,
interesting.
it was a bit time consuming, but yes, basically, thanks to Cargo, I found that I could retrieve all the companies that were merged, so I was able to recreate them by batch after it. But yes, it's an error you should avoid.
Yeah, I guess the more lesson is don't do big batches until you're sure. So start with
Yeah,
a small batch, so you don't
exactly.
have to fix stuff manually. Okay, very good. I think that's good. Thank you, Alexis, for joining us and sharing us this flow.
Sure.
We're very happy to sort of like update our basic template. I think this is going to make things a bit more interesting for a lot of the audience here. So for those people who tuned in live and watching async, sorry about my microphone problems. New platform, new compatibility issues, but I hope that was useful. We're going to ship this template as a cargo template available publicly for anyone. I'm going to email personally each of the people who registered for this event so that you know that it's there. And then we'll be very happy to have your feedback to both ourselves and Alexis as to how that's going for you, what are the sort of edge cases that we haven't covered. And if we have enough interest, we'll do a second episode on how to catch companies with fuzzy names that are similar.
Yeah.
In the meantime, this has been episode 1 of the CRM Hygiene series. We'll be back next week with a new episode on another CRM hygiene problem, because this is not going to go away. We all want to use AI and agents, but we can't do that until our data is clean and reliable. So keep an eye out for that. I'll be making an announcement in the GTM community over the next couple of days. And then thank you again, Alexis. Have a nice end of the day. To everyone tuning in, thank you for tuning in, and see you again next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Ciao, ciao.